Welcome everybody to Roll for Recipe, the series where the dice are the head chef. For those who are new here, my name is Kyle and I roll dice for different rules and ingredients and then try to make a dish based around those rules and ingredients. So without further ado, let's roll for today's recipe. Y'all know the drill. First up is that D10 for restriction. 2, we gotta do under $5 per serving. Hopefully we get a good protein for that. Let's find out. D8 for protein. 4 for eggs. Eggs are easily the best roll we could have gotten here. They're about $1.50 a dozen at Walmart right now, which means that I could use a half a dozen eggs and still be under $1 for the protein. So yeah, this is an amazing roll when we're working on a budget. Next up, none of these should break the bank. It is the D6 for carb. 2 for English muffin. Definitely rolled that a few times. English muffins for the 3rd time this season, but for once we get it with egg, which is a natural pairing with it. We could go with breakfast sandwiches, we could do eggs benedict. There's a lot of different options we got here. Looking pretty breakfasty so far. Let's see what we get for 2d12 seasonings. 2 and 7, pumpkin spice and thyme. If there's one thing I've learned on this series so far, pumpkin spice is surprisingly versatile, a lot more than I usually give it credit for. And then thyme is usually a pretty neutral spice, so I don't think either of these are gonna pose any problems. And here we are, 2d20 for the produce. That is a double 8 for double tamarind. So fresh tamarind, I'm not sure. I think I've seen it at Publix in the past, but a vast majority of time you're gonna cook with tamarind, you use tamarind paste or tamarind concentrate. So I'm gonna use concentrate here. And then because we rolled it double, I'm gonna try to use it a couple different ways. We'll see what we can do. And the last ingredient roll, D100 Wild Magic Roll. 23 is pistachios. So my biggest concern with pistachios really is price. Quality nuts can be pretty expensive in general, but this was $11 for 16 ounces, I believe it was. So if I'm only gonna use maybe like half an ounce of them, I think we should be fine. Well, I definitely need a few things to help me out. 2d6 for extra ingredients. 4 and 5, that's 9 extra ingredients. 9 ingredients. We have definitely been rolling high on this, except for when we get limited pantry, and then we just always roll a 1 apparently. So the first thing we're gonna do is work with the tamarind. I'm gonna make a bit of a tamarind jam, and so we're gonna use quite a bit of palm sugar to make that, along with a little bit of garlic, ginger, chili paste, soy sauce, just kind of add some flavor to it. And then for the direction I'm going, I'm gonna do an eggs benedict, and so we're going to splurge a little bit on an extra protein and get some Canadian bacon. Each slice of this is around 50 cents, 2 slices roughly about $1, so it shouldn't break the bank too badly. And then for the hollandaise, pretty standard here. We're gonna do some butter, some white wine vinegar, and some cayenne pepper, and I'm gonna mix a little bit of that tamarind in there to get the second use of it. Also, I'm gonna be using a lower quality butter because this is much cheaper. High quality butter might actually break the bank because it's absurdly expensive. And with that, we have all of our ingredients, so let's get to cooking. I'm gonna start today with a small sauce pot, not a regular mise en place. I do want to lightly saute this garlic and ginger, so we're going to put a little oil. I'm going to just lightly saute that, let it get a little fragrant. Now I'm going to take some of this palm sugar and add that. Again, it's going to be a tamarind jam, so I'm mostly focusing on the palm sugar and the tamarind here, and then everything else is just going to be very light. All right, in with the tamarind concentrate. Some of you will notice this is very similar to a pad thai sauce that I made not too long ago. I'm going to add a little water too. Just so it doesn't burn and overcook, it helps a little bit with the cooking. A little bit of soy sauce, just for some umami and salt. And then just a tiny amount of chili paste. All right, and now we're just gonna reduce this down. Hopefully there was enough sugar in there that it is jam-like by the time it's done. Oh yeah, I almost forgot, I have some of these thyme leaves. I'm gonna throw a few of these into there. Again, thyme's pretty neutral. I really don't think it's gonna hurt or add anything to this, but I'm just gonna add it because it was on the rolls. All right, I don't know if you guys can quite tell, there's more bubbles, it's getting thicker. As you can see, viscosity here is much thicker. So this is about what we want. I think once this cools down, it'll definitely be kind of that jam consistency. All right, we're on to making the hollandaise. I got my 2 bowls here. I'm gonna crack an egg into one of them. We're gonna get the egg yolk out of this. So for egg yolks, there is a lot of methods. I like to just use my hands and like, just let the egg white fall off of it like that. I know some people like to use the shells, they like to use the strainers. I think this just works best. And then obviously you can save the egg white for whatever you want to use egg whites for. So now we got our egg in the bowl. We're going to add a small splash of white wine vinegar. And I always add a small splash of water. Gonna whisk this up. Also, I realized I forgot to add the pumpkin spice to the jam, so I'm gonna add it to the hollandaise. We're gonna see how it tastes. And now we're gonna move to a double boiler. All right, so for anybody that does not know how a double boiler works, I have a pot with a little bit of water on the bottom here. I'm gonna set my bowl on top of this. I'm gonna keep whisking this until it gets a bit frothy. The idea here is the steam will get trapped inside the bowl beneath, and it will heat up this bowl, and it will keep kind of a constant temperature. And hopefully my eggs will not overcook. Ideally, you would have like one of those giant balloon whisks, but I just have this whisk, so this is the best I got. So once the egg starts to get frothy like this, I have some warmed butter that I've been warming on the back burner. I'm gonna pour it in. We're just gonna pour it in little by little. If you've ever made homemade mayonnaise, you know this process well. And to be honest, hollandaise is basically just hot mayonnaise. So yeah, you're just gonna add this butter in little by little. You're gonna let it emulsify as you whisk it, and then you will continue to add until all your butter is added. And the ratio that I'm used to is 1 egg yolk to 1 stick of butter. I don't know if that's a standard ratio, it's just what I've always used. All right, this is getting a nice sauce-like consistency. I'm gonna start adding this butter in a little bit faster. All right, now I get to add my flavorings, a little bit of that tamarind concentrate, some salt, some cayenne pepper, the pumpkin spice. I'm gonna be honest, with the pumpkin spice, this makes me think of like a custard now. And I am also going to throw in a little bit more of these thyme leaves. All right, and now on to making the poached egg. All right, we got a pot of hot water here, not quite a rolling boil, you don't need it a rolling boil. Gonna add a little bit of white wine vinegar to this. This is going to help the egg white set on the outside. It's not really going to affect the flavor, don't worry about that. Now, I have seen so many methods for poaching an egg. I've seen a swirl, a strainer method, all kinds of stuff. Honestly, I just drop it in and it always works pretty well for me. Just give it like 4.5, 5 minutes and it's usually okay. So that's what I'm gonna do. Then we're gonna drop the other guy. All right, and now I'll just give it a 4.5, 5 minutes and we should be good. So the way that I was taught to check a poached egg is that you're going to take it with a slotted spoon, you're gonna look underneath, and if you see bits of white coming through the bottom, it's not quite set. So I'm gonna let this go another 30 seconds, should be about done. All right, let's see this guy now. Yeah, that's perfect. So we're gonna put this out onto a paper towel lined plate. And now it is time to assemble our dish. All right, got the plate down, got some English muffins. Let's hope everything did not cool down. Got my jam here, it is extremely thick. So I may have actually reduced this a little bit too much. Got our Canadian bacon. Got our poached eggs. These are the ones I'm most concerned that they may have set by the time I got everything set up. Let's hope that they are good. The hollandaise sauce, fun fact, this sauce broke completely, literally like 5 seconds after I turned off the camera. And even now, if you guys can tell, it kind of looks like it's breaking again a little bit, but we're gonna roll with it and hope for the best. Because I definitely don't want to have to remake a whole entire hollandaise again. And then last but not least, I have some crushed up pistachios that I'm gonna put on top as the garnish. There we go, nice spin on Eggs Benedicts. I think this one should taste pretty good. I'm not so sure about the hollandaise. I think that pumpkin spice in there may throw it off a little bit, but I think everything else should work pretty well here. Quick reminder to like and subscribe if you like this video and want to see more. I really hope these have not been sitting too long because it took me a while to set everything up and get the shots and everything. So let us see, moment of truth. All right, we got a nice runny yolk there inside. Bon appetit. Almost forgot, here's the breakdown somewhere off to the side here. I'm gonna put the breakdown of all the costing. So one word verdict is that it is okay. I think the hollandaise is throwing it off a little bit. I'm not sure if it's the thyme, if it's the pumpkin spice. the tamarind maybe? I'm not sure why. That hollandaise just isn't really meshing with everything. It could also be the butter we used. I used a much cheaper, lower quality butter for the price restriction, and it just, that usually doesn't taste as good as the high quality stuff. As for everything else though, Canadian bacon, egg, English muffin, that all works together. The eggs are cooked well, the pistachios work as a garnish, and the jam tastes phenomenal. The jam is honestly the star of this show. It tastes amazing with everything. And yeah, that hollandaise is just throwing it off completely, and I don't know that I can give it a good score just because of that. So for the scoring, I've said everything about the flavor. Everything worked really well except that hollandaise. And it's enough. I'm gonna finish the dish, so I wouldn't put it below a 3, but it's probably not getting above a 5 just because I probably would not eat this again. But honestly, the rest of the flavors and everything work so well here that I think I'm gonna put it somewhere in the 4s. As for where exactly it fits in the 4s, not an expensive dish, obviously because of the restriction, but complexity. Honestly, guys, the hollandaise sauce got me on this one today. My first hollandaise sauce, I actually completely messed up. It completely clumped up, the egg cooked, I couldn't really save it. And then the second hollandaise sauce I made, this one completely broke into butter, probably like 5 seconds after I turned off the camera. Just completely went to melted butter. Thankfully, I was able to bring it back, but yeah, the complexity of this one, hollandaise is gonna get it there. So price is good, it's pretty complex. Flavor could be better, a lot of stuff works, hollandaise didn't. So for a score, I think I'm gonna give it a 4.5 out of 10. And for a name, I'm gonna call it Betrayed by the Hollandaise. I'm pretty sad too, I had pretty high hopes for this. I thought it was actually gonna work. Anyway guys, as always, thanks for watching, have a great day, and I'll see you next time.